Alright, so I went to Tractor Supply today, real briefly, looking for a vise. Ours is kind of breaking down. One of the jaws is falling off. The thing's seen better days. We abused the crap out of it. So I'm looking for a new shop vise for the shop, because we work on cars, we need to fix cars. Sometimes shop equipment breaks down over time. So I'm looking at the 6-inch, and then I noticed this multi-function vise 5-inch that rotates 360 in either direction. So I can go all the way around, or I can flip the head all the way around, whatever I want. I'm like, man, that would really come in handy. Especially when we're like my boss, he does brazing for like AC lines and power steering lines and things like that. So I thought, you know what? This might not be a bad way to go, because we can rotate the vise in any orientation that we need to in order for him to braze or whatever. Maybe he'll teach me how to braze. I've never brazed. Shit. I just now barely learned how to use my oxyacetylene torch that my dad gave me. I've seen it used. I've never personally used it. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, oh, dude, they have it in red and black. And I like a little bit of flash, not a lot. So it was nice to see that they had it in red. So now I'm looking at some of the differences on the outside of the box. This is a little bit misleading. I'll show you here in a second. It looked like the red one was built a little bit differently, maybe stronger than the black one. I also like the color, so I went with the red. Looking at it now, you can see that it looks almost exactly like the black one. There's no extra nuts, bolts, and everything else like it shows in the box. I'm like, whatever, not a big deal. It still seems pretty rugged and duty. So you can see you could flip the head 360 all the way around. You could pivot it in either direction. And you're thinking, no, he's not going to do it. I know he's not going to do it. Yes, I am. My Harbor Freight US General 56-inch toolbox is going to be a workbench. I'm making it that way. Now you can see the rubber stoppers that it came with are a little bit janky, to say the least. But, needless to say, I'm getting ready to set this thing up and mount it. And you're like, how is he drilling this? How does he think this thing's going to support the weight? Let me show you. At least I'll try to. It's got a beam, an I-beam that goes all the way across for extra structural support. So my plan is to drill the holes, and they're 1/2 inch in diameter. I'm going to drill the holes to mount this thing to the top towards the edge of my toolbox, then drop in a washer, a bolt, a lock washer, and then plumb it up, and it should be good to go. I think this is going to be an invaluable tool. I know we've needed it here at the shop. It would have been nice if those rubber stoppers weren't broken, but it's whatever, you know. We don't use rubber stoppers as it is. If we need to protect something from marring or scarring, we'll just simply put rags in place of those rubber stoppers to kind of help it out. Now, there's not nearly as much grip, but maybe I can get those warrantied out and they can just order me new rubber stoppers. I don't know. I'll have to go back to Tractor Supply and ask. So I'm using a lady slipper and a flathead screwdriver to kind of keep everything centered while I'm drilling holes in this thing. I kind of make the little boo-boo by pre-setting it up. I realize it, so I go ahead and rotate the head fully around, find the lady slipper, slip it in. I got one more hole to drill. I'll show you guys just a little bit later on once I get it completely set up. There's other things that I'm planning on doing to this as well. Alright, so I'm getting ready to drill the last hole, but let me go ahead and wrap it up with this, guys. Look, I'm getting ready to do some extreme modifications for several reasons. Just because I think it's going to be more fun, it would add better content, and you can see what it is that you can and cannot do with these toolboxes. That being said, enjoy the rest of this clip, and I'll get right back to you.
Rock and roll. Now we just need bolts.
Alright guys, so that'll pretty much wrap it up for today's video. But look, before we go, let me talk to you about some of the things that I had ideas on. So, I had a bunch of, you know, the hamster starts running. You can't stop it from running. There's a bunch of things that I want to do to make this tool cabinet work, not just for me, but for others in my shop. You got to understand, and I've had comments about it in the past, and everyone's saying, oh, you shouldn't let them use your stuff, and they need to get their own, etc., etc. Guys, I solely operated out of a service cart for almost 2 years now at the same exact independent shop without bitch, gripe, or complaint. Okay, I borrowed stuff all the time throughout the day. Granted, I don't have to borrow very much, but when I do, it's nice to know that other people are willing to let me borrow it and go in their box and grab it. I don't have to ask. It's a family-oriented environment, so I want to keep that going. So I don't keep my drawers locked. I don't tell anyone they have to ask me for permission first. All that I ask is that they put it back where they found it when they're done. And if they can't, at least put it on top of the toolbox, and I'll put it away. Either way, as long as it goes back in the same drawer and I can go back and I know that it's there and I can reuse it, I'm good to go, man. Doesn't bother me whatsoever. The other thing that I want you guys to take into consideration is that I don't look at this as like I'm working for somebody else. I look at this as I'm working with somebody else. And if you think of it that way, you're coupled, right? You're a couple, you're a team. You're working together to try to make life better or to make money together. So if I look at it like that, a shop tool isn't a shop tool. A shop tool is our tool. It's my tool. It's a tool that we can all use to help keep the shop running, to help keep profits coming in. And at the end of the day, guess what? I still got a job and I'm happy to have it. So even down to like, we'll even say my creeper. Everybody borrows that thing. I didn't buy it so that way I was the only one to use it. I bought it so that way my bosses was not the only one that got used. I bought it so we had 2 fully operational, functional creepers because some of the other creepers in the shop are breaking down over time. So I bought another one for the shop to use. I don't care if people are using it. If I'm not using it, it's there, man. And if somebody else is using it, there's another one that I can grab. Not a big deal. It's the same exact thing when it comes to this vise. I'm looking at it as it's a team effort. This vise is needed. We've got 2 vices in our shop. One of them's breaking down. The other one's still holding up. But the one that's holding up is in a location that's a little bit difficult to work on bigger stuff and even do certain things. It's in an awkward spot. The other one is in a completely open spot with a long table that you can flop things over and do some air hammering and whatever else to. I knew we needed one. And because I got this new tool cabinet, I want to see how structurally sound it is. I mean, you guys tell me these things are freaking awesome. You won't be disappointed. That's great. Can it withstand a professional environment? Can it withstand professional use? That's what we're testing. That's what I want to know. I don't give a crap if some guy compared it to some Husky and the specs were different and the Husky held up over the Harbor Freight or the Harbor Freight held up over the Husky. I want to know. If I put a bench vise on this thing and I'm beating and smacking the crap out of something, is it going to hold up? If I want to put 2 cylinder heads or a long block on top of this thing, is it going to hold the weight? Is it going to support what it is that I'm doing? If I want to do a valve job or replace some valve seats, can I go ahead and do that on the toolbox? Can it be a fully functional, workable work surface? That's what I want to know, and that's what we're going to try. So now knowing that if I was to get, I'm guessing, okay, this is a guess part. If I was to get the 56-inch top part, I lose that work surface. I don't want to lose the work surface. If I get the end cabinet or the end locker, will it mount up? I believe it will. Specifications through the catalog show that it should. So I don't see there being an issue with that. So I'm still planning on getting the locker, and then I'll probably get the end cabinet at a later date, which is less than buying the top portion for. So if you looked at how much the top portion goes for, and I don't have the catalog in front of me, I believe it's like $450 or $470. You might be able to get it on promo, but the end cabinet and the end locker, they're only $200 a piece. So you're talking $400, and I'm sure there's a coupon for that. So something to think about. Also, I'm thinking about fabricating my own little shelf, my own little filing shelf or work shelf, someplace to store other things. I've also considered taking the 6-ton benchtop press to work. Now we have a 20-ton press, which works amazing, but the actual shaft that presses things through it and what have you for smaller stuff, maybe it's handy to have this. We're gonna find out. Be it that it may, look, I'm gonna put this thing through the ringer. We're gonna see if it can handle a professional work environment going through some of the most rugged abuse that you can possibly imagine, because that's what you guys want to know. You don't want to know, does it look good on paper? You want to know if that thing's going to be like Rocky Balboa, man, going into the ring, getting his face punched off and still end up winning. That's what you want to know, and that's what I want to prove. So if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Share if you want to share. If you got other ideas of some things that you might want to tweak or see or do or experiment with, Let me know down in the comments. If you've done things with your toolbox and you've customized it the way that you wanted it to, does it hold up over time? How did you do it? What did you do to it? Let me know down in the comments as well. That's all I got for this video. Thanks as always for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Deuces.